The next 45 minutes is everything that I wish I would have known as a homeowner looking at my first foundation repair. This should fully prepare you on how to find a contractor, what to look for, what to expect before, during, and after the repairs, and so many of the questions that I didn't even know I had or should have, and that will give you a total leg up on the process.
The intent of this video was not to scare you, but to give you a worst case scenario so you are not blindsided. You know exactly what the worst case is when you start down this road. Many of these expectations apply to both pier and beam foundations and slab on grade foundations. Let's get started on what to expect before foundation repairs begin. Expectation number 1. If your foundation problems are the result of something else, get that solved first. Don't throw money at a problem without solving the cause. Otherwise, you'll just pay for foundation repairs again later. Do you need gutters? Improve drainage around the house. Is there improper slope leading all water towards the house foundation? Do trees need to be removed? Are sprinkler heads too close to your house and need to be redirected or moved further away? These sprinklers are too close to the house, causing foundation problems. Mortar is permeable, allowing water behind the stone veneer. Continuously wet from sprinklers throughout the day, the cardboard waterproofing behind this veneer will eventually soak into the wood frame of the wall. Personal experience here, we had 2 houses requiring foundation repairs. On the first house, we removed a failing handicap ramp, which was holding moisture against the house. The second house needed gutters to help direct water away from the foundation. Expectation number 2, complete all foundation repairs before starting any other renovation. Any shift in the foundation may ruin anything above it. Completing a renovation or a work in progress while finishing repairs on the foundation is an alternate version of Russian roulette. For instance, we completed the foundation work before putting on a new roof on one of the houses. By leveling the house first, there's no additional stress on the top layer of the house, preventing stretching or buckling of the new roofing materials. Expectation number 3, clear the area around the entire perimeter of the house. First off, foundation repair contractors need access to the crawl space when it comes to pier and beam foundations. They'll also need access to their perimeter. Slab foundations may need additional piers. These piers require digging around the outside of the foundation for access to put them in place. Even a pier and beam foundation may need some trenching during the repair process. As you can see, a 5-foot hole was dug to pour a new footing below the previous foundation, which you can see the foundation was only a few inches below the brick stem wall. You just never know what you'll discover once you start repairs. There's no getting around. There will be damage to grass and plants. Temporarily replanting is your best bet. Make sure you consider plants all around the perimeter of your house because the contractor may need access anywhere and possibly everywhere. Here you can see the stacks of lumber and cement columns are staged for the foundation repairs. Heavy piles of materials may cause lawn damage. Likewise, piles of rotten floor joists and beams and piles of dirt from trenching below the house can also cause lawn issues. Any outdoor furniture, toys, and equipment should be moved out of the way. Expectation number 4, obvious but for completeness, the house will move. The motion of the repair may shift items around. Protect valuables, wall hangings, and delicate items by placing them in safe places during the foundation repairs. Expectation number 5, don't wait. Foundation repairs get worse over time, meaning the final bill will be more expensive the longer you allow the foundation to deteriorate. Definitely get bids before thinking it's more than you can afford at the moment. At the same time, foundation repair may or may not be expensive. You don't know until you ask. Moving on, here's what to expect during foundation repairs. Expectation number 6, it will be noisy. 20-ton jacks crank the house up. Sister joists are hammered into place. Heavy equipment and power tools may be used. Tapping, hammering, sawing. Motor noise and possibly cursing is the norm. In our case, the hardwood flooring nails extended well into the crawl space. If you forget and your head gets anywhere near the subfloor, you are not so gently reminded with the pointed end of a nail. Like I said, foundation repairs are loud, especially when you hit your head on any one of these nails. Consider finding a hideout away from home for your pets. The same applies to kids. Children who need naps will not be getting a nap at the house on the day of foundation repairs. Small ears may overhear some language, especially given the nail situation I just showed you. Expectation number 7, expect repairs inside the house. Lots of repairs. Cracks and buckling started forming as the house settled over time. This isn't just limited to drywall, but to all systems of the house. The roof, framing, plumbing, flooring, etc. As nice as it would seem to simply put it back and the cracks disappear, that isn't exactly quite how it ends up working.
Instead, expect more cracks and buckling to appear as the house is jacked back up and re-leveled. Drywall is the most obvious repair. Paper and gypsum easily crack. Expect drywall repairs inside the house during and after the foundation work. In our experience with one house, almost every window had anywhere from 1 to 4 cracks going from the window to the ceiling or the window to the floor. Doors may need some tweaking to bring them back to level and close properly. You're looking at the crazy gap that appeared between the doorway, wall, and floor mid-repair. Windows may be more difficult to open and close if they were replaced while the house was out of level. But hey, they also may be more difficult to open even if they are original. Similar to drywall, crown molding and baseboard can pop off or show gaps as the repairs are completed. Here we're looking at crown molding coming off during foundation work. Notice the drywall crack above the doorway too. Plumbing systems with little give may break or separate. Plumbing is supposed to run below the slab inside of a sheathing, allowing shifting and moving expected in a slab to leave the plumbing unaffected. The sheathing also serves as a protective measure against water and other minerals in the soil from eating at the outside of the pipe. These measures may not be enough. As part of the house sinks, it pushes the plumbing further into the ground. When the house is lifted, the embedded plumbing wants to stay where it is. This kind of suction pulling action can easily break a line. You can't be sure of what you have since you can't see it. If you're particularly unlucky, hard line plumbing, such as the copper you see here, will be embedded improperly in the slab. This means plumbing is more likely to separate during the initial shift, causing a hard to detect leak below the flooring. Or it can cause a crimp in the line where a leak occurs during or after the foundation repair. While all homes are not created equal, even if your home is plumbed properly below the slab, you may just have bad luck and the plumbing separates. It's better to know as soon as possible before tiles start popping off due to a waterlogged concrete slab foundation.
You may want to test before and after foundation repairs to make sure that your plumbing supply didn't suffer any damage. A plumber can assist you with this kind of testing. A follow-on video on how you can do this yourself is in the works and it will be here and in the description as soon as it comes out. But wouldn't it be nice if there was such a thing as a whole house water monitor so you would know as soon as a leak occurs on your phone? Oh, but there is. Well, 99% of the time, you just want to detect normal leaks with a whole house water monitor. Detecting a leak as soon as it happens during foundation repairs is a huge benefit of a whole house water monitor. It just makes sense that you're more at risk to have a leak during foundation repairs than just every day when your house is sitting there. Here's a screenshot of the Fin app where you can see the current flow rate. Here's another screenshot of the Fin app when a small drip is detected. This is a soft kickoff on an entire video series I'm doing on whole house water monitors starting in a couple of weeks. I'll update the description when it starts coming out.
As for the water exiting your home, that's another matter entirely. While it can be a major issue, it's not as if there's a constant stream of water attempting to shoot out the line, as is the case on the supply plumbing side. Still, you may want to have your egress plumbing scoped. Harder surfaces with little to no give, such as tile, may crack. Grout may need to be redone. In a worst-case scenario, an entire floor may need replacing. Many caulk joints where two surfaces meet will need the old caulking removed and replaced. As you can see here, the bathtub separated from the tile floor, or the tile floor separated from the bathtub. Your call, but in either case, the crack in between needed new caulk as well as the adjoining tile surround. Trusses or other supporting framing may twist and shift. Bowed and cracked bracing may need to be replaced. Foundation repairs can find framing and roofing problems. Foundation repairs are how we discovered the latest AC company had compromised the structure of the roof and house by cutting through and removing some of the trusses. If you see cracks in your ceiling with buckling, look at the framing above. Not just what's there, but what should be there.
Expectation number 8, expect work outside of your house.
Brickwork and stone on the exterior may need repointing. If the cracks are big enough, some replacing may be in order. If the sill plate or rim joists are replaced, the siding is coming off. If you have vinyl siding, it may be possible to remove it and then snap it back into place. Our vinyl siding was higher quality with some insulation backing. It was also fairly new, so it had some give. If your vinyl siding is older, it may crack and need replacing. This would only be a patch. However, you may have complications. Perhaps your siding isn't easily available. There could be noticeable fading from the sun where a newer piece is darker and the rest of the house is lighter. Or maybe the vinyl siding has a different color batch. If you have wood siding, it may be able to be reattached with some painting. If the rot was so bad it extends into the siding, you may have to replace a few rows. Siding is generally outside of the contract unless explicitly stated. In our experience, one team offered to replace the siding for a fee, The other worked with us to replace the siding since we had pitched in during the rest of the process. This is just another reason why you shouldn't be afraid to go under your house or overcome that fear.
Be that girl. Go out there and get it done and see for yourself. Or be that guy. I'm totally there with you too.
Also remember to replace any removed waterproofing under the siding that was removed. The old waterproofing should overlap over the new waterproofing. Expect to replace waterproofing on any siding removed during foundation repairs. Outside faucets. Of all places, why is it the siding seems to get taken off around a hose bib? Perhaps it's because it's the cause of some framing damage due to water leaking. More than likely, not just to annoy us with replacing more complicated pieces of siding. If you have an active leak, you might also be calling a plumber, stopping the damage to the foundation below. In any case, there might be some repairs to the siding around a hose bib. In both cases, we took the opportunity to change out the old gate valves and installed new quarter turn valves. Nowadays, we would replace these with frost-free hose bibs. We would also install a PEX maintenance loop to make maintenance on the next replacement easier. Gutters. Downspouts may get bumped or fall off with the movement. Make an extra pass around the outside of the house to make sure your gutters, downspouts, and trays are all in their proper place.
Expectation number 9. Concrete areas such as driveways and garages may need breakouts.
Breakouts are holes needed to access the foundation in concrete around and inside the house. Driveways and garages are two common examples where slab foundation repairs need access to these large areas. After the work is complete, they will be patched, but know that while necessary, they may look patched going forward.
Expectation number 10. Expect to find more problems and budget for project creep.
Better to do it now than have a repeat visit when further damage is done to the interior of the house. Both of our foundations ended up costing more due to unexpected dry rot.
Expectation number 11. Enjoy the ride.
Many foundation repairs are more expensive than a trip to Disney World. If you're inside when the house is lifted and lowered, you might as well enjoy your personal roller coaster ride. At least your floors won't feel like a roller coaster when the job is complete.
Expectation number 12. Take a morale boost when you get it.
This might be an unfun, stressful, and expensive day or multiple days. Any morale boost is a good thing. Here we have smiles all around with all hands on deck. Our pint-sized helper stuck around to find nails we needed to remove. Keeping smiles on the foundation company crew too.
That's all bad enough, but wait, there's more. Here's what to expect after foundation repairs. Expectation lucky 13. Check the boots on all roof penetration.
Boots on vent stacks shift and move with repairs. If they're lifted up, they won't automatically go down by themselves. If they're left up, there will be a gap allowing rain to travel down the pipe, causing secondary damage with insulation and drywall repairs. Likewise, any cracks that form in tar or caulk should get replaced or recoated to seal the gap. I wouldn't expect the foundation company to go on your roof, as their main job is on the ground. Instead, you'll need to go up and push them back into position.
Expectation 14. Wait for settling.
Instead of fixing the drywall right away, you should consider letting the house settle for a few weeks or months. It may take some time to see if cracks become smaller or larger. You'd hate to make repairs only to have them reappear again.
Then it's on to taping, floating, sanding, priming, and painting. What number are we on? Expectation number 15. Keep tabs on backfill.
If you have a slab foundation repair, digging is required to put in additional piers. The removed dirt is backfilled. If not, that is a serious problem. The dirt will settle over time. If there's not enough, this allows water to pool along the foundation, creating another opportunity for foundation problems. On the other hand, if there's too much backfill and it's piled up too high, all the way up to your siding, you have another problem. If you have a brick or stone veneer, there are weep holes along the bottom to allow water behind the stone to exit. If you have some kind of wood or other exterior cladding, backfill along the bottom can store water and cause siding to fail prematurely, along with the base plate and framing along the bottom of the wall.
Expectation 16. Selling soon?
It's a catch-22. Foundation damage discovered on a home inspection is bad news. If you follow through on foundation repairs, or if you complete a repair prior to going on the market, you're potentially looking at a lot of work fixing the repercussions.
While foundation repairs may be necessary, all of those consequences we just went over may make your home harder to sell. If too many repairs are obvious, a potential buyer is going to wonder what's wrong. But you've already had the foundation repaired. In all reality, the expensive work is done. A potential buyer may not appreciate your problem solving and keep looking at other homes.
Many obvious consequences are minimal in comparison to a broken foundation. But if they're not fixed properly, you end up holding the bag in the end because no one wants to buy a damaged home, or they'll want a significant price reduction.
This certainly has turned into a doom and gloom video, but in all reality, this is a high risk and high effort job. This is a necessary evil when you have to have these foundation repairs done. Definitely bring up any questions or concerns you may have up to the contractors you're interviewing during the bidding process.
How much do foundation repairs cost? In this video, I'm sharing our experiences and hard numbers from hiring foundation companies to repair both pier and beam and slab-on-grade foundations. In addition, I will be sharing some of the hidden fees that may be outside of the contract. Both of these foundations had some rim joists, sill plates, and main beams replaced, along with sistering joists and adding additional piers. Let's get the hard numbers you think you want out of the way. The first foundation shown here, with the traditional foundation repaired in place, was $6,400. The second one, with a new floating foundation, was $4,000. Would it shock you if I said those numbers weren't the initial estimates? Probably not. Honestly, I can't recall the original estimate on the first house, but it was close to $5,000. The original estimate for the second house was $3,500. Here's why there was a difference between the estimate and the final bill. In both cases, the extent of the damage wasn't visible. Some of the main beams had dry rot, which none of us could tell until the 20-ton jack started crushing the beam when it tried lifting it. In retrospect, we could have done a highly scientific screwdriver test, where you, unsurprisingly, use a screwdriver and try and shove it into the beam. If it sinks, keep moving further and further down until you come across solid wood again. But even then, if the weak point is inside of the beam or sandwiched to another piece of wood where you have limited access, it is difficult to tell ahead of time. The more significant $1,500 difference in the first foundation was also due to a lack of footing pretty much around the entire house. This back corner was falling away and required at least a 4-foot hole with cement on the bottom to support a pier. But without digging into the dirt around the base of the house, no one knew how deep the cement below the brick stem wall went down. What I would do next time is start a very small excavation to see what I and the potential crews will be dealing with before they arrive to give a bid. I'm not saying dig a huge hole so that it causes more damage in the event of rain or ground heave if your timeline is longer. Just dig enough to see how far the cement goes out on either side and see how far down it goes. I probably could have done this with a hand tool and we would have all been way more informed up front. No matter what the estimate is, plan on project creep. Also, those numbers didn't include putting the siding the foundation crews removed back onto the house. The first crew helped us put in replacement air and water control membrane, shingle style, and reinstalled the thankfully still flexible vinyl siding because we helped them with the foundation repair work. The other crew offered to reinstall the rim joist and replacement wood cladding for $500. You'll also have to add in plumber's fees if any additional work has to go into replacing a hose bib. Oftentimes, foundation problems are the result of water damage, and hose bibs generally are where the foundation repairs are done, just as a nuisance to complicate the job if it's not the source of the problem. I'm saying that somewhat sarcastically, but we really did have 2 hose bibs to work around on both houses. In addition to expecting some project creep, it is a good idea to get your foundation repairs done sooner than later. As I said before,
Expectation number 5, don't wait. Foundation repairs get worse over time, meaning the final bill will be more expensive the longer you allow the foundation to deteriorate.
here are some numbers from additional projects we've had since then. The next project, interestingly enough, was also $6,400 for a slab foundation. This involved over 60 piers driven 14 feet into expansive clay soil under a house and garage. This included breakouts in the garage and driveway. Another is currently an estimate of $45,000. This is for a half slab, half pier and beam house and driveway sliding down a hill. The price is so high because the house was built on a hill using foundation methods for a house built on flat land. The repairs include expensive helical piers to lock the house in place, but that's a lot lower of a price tag than if the house is basically lifted while a new foundation is built below. As you can see, the final cost of your foundation repairs can vary depending on the extent of damage, how much contractors charge in your area, and who you know. For instance, prices for the 6400 slab foundation job were also coming in at $15,000 before tapping into the right circles. The hired crew even followed up a year later. That was impressive. Then there's also the coordination with the city to pull a permit on repairs. Definitely give them a call when you are starting the process to make sure your repairs are done properly and you won't have an issue when selling your house later. In addition, you may need to have a soil report and involve a structural engineer. Unfortunately, the foundation repairs are only the beginning. Everything else above the foundation, and even the plumbing below, may move and result in some additional repairs. I created an entire video dedicated to the repercussions here. Really, there are too many factors to give you a good ballpark to compare against. Your best bet is to talk to 3 reputable foundation repair companies to get a feel for the extent of the problem. I'm saying the number 3 specifically because even though you think you have 3 solid companies coming out, if one is way off and the other 2 are comparable, you have a better idea of what's really going on and who you'd rather work with. I'm really sending you some positive vibes because this may be a tough job to complete DIY style or pay out. If you have a crawl space, I highly suggest you go under the house yourself before the first contractor arrives. Today we're talking about 2 different methods to repair pier and beam foundations. Here we are under the first foundation where you can see we have the old stem wall with a new sill plate and lots of sister joists. But everything is in place as it was, it's just beefed up. So you've got sister joists, new sill plate. There's additional beams underneath, so you can see the old versus the new. And for every one of the old brick columns, these piers, there's a new cinder block or cement block all the way down on both sides. And you've got this new lovely beam in the middle, just supporting the middle of the house a lot better than what it was before. Everything is as it was. It's maintaining the same kind of style that was here before. It's just beefed up and a lot stronger. Here we are under another house with a different pier and beam foundation where there's been considerable amount of piers being added. And this new beam runs along the outside wall. Essentially, this foundation is now a floating foundation where this is the structural part, and the outside brick that you see there, the stem wall, is no longer load-bearing as it once was. It's a shared load, and we've replaced all of the rim joists along this section as well. Each foundation repair method has pros and cons. Before deciding on a repair method, it is important to know or research the residential codes when doing projects on your house. Also, consider hiring a licensed structural engineer to come up with the repair plan. The engineer's recommendation is going to be unbiased and reflect the minimum amount of work, if any, required to maintain structural integrity. If you ask 3 contractors to come in and look at something, you'll get 3 opinions, none of which are from a structural engineer whose seal and signature is going to be worth it when your house passes inspection. You might be wondering, why am I under 2 different houses? Well, my husband and I own both of these homes. If you saw the last video where we were talking about how to choose the best pier and beam foundation contractor, we liked 2 in our bids, and we had 2 houses, so we hired them both. We had foundation work on both houses on the same week,
Cha-ching, it was an expensive week. But you can see the differences between the two contractors. So when it comes back again to that other video where I said you want to agree on the scope of work, well, you might want to know how your pier and beam foundation is going to be repaired. Is it going to be a floating foundation, or are they beefing up what's already there? Today we're talking about how to choose the best pier and beam repair contractor. Let's get started. You might have been wondering, why was I wearing gloves in the intro? The first thing you need to do before ever picking up the phone is go under the house and see what's going on yourself. So here we go. I want to add that I have my shoes bagged up. I took my nice jacket off. I'm not wearing the nicest clothes, and I've got a handy stick to swat at the cobwebs down here. You don't want to wear anything nice. There we go. Yikes. You want to know what the problems are for two reasons. First one is you don't want to have the wool pulled over your eyes. Just because we're looking at a really nasty basement with some cobwebs right here, you don't want somebody to say, hey, you have a whole lot of problems that really don't need to be done. Likewise, when you're talking to them, you want to know where the problem areas are. Just have that shared knowledge between the two of you so you're getting an idea of what's going on, what needs to happen, and you agree. So here we are under the house. We're looking for the problem areas that we felt up above, as well as looking for other things that might be a problem. Take this column here, for example. It's not rocket science that there was an accident waiting to happen and we got lucky. So we're very glad that nothing was wrong up above. We didn't feel it, but you could see very easily that there's a problem. That wasn't rocket science right there.
Before deciding on a repair method, it is important to know or research the residential codes when doing projects on your house. Also, consider hiring a licensed structural engineer to come up with the repair plan. The engineer's recommendation is going to be unbiased and reflect the minimum amount of work, if any, required to maintain structural integrity. If you ask 3 contractors to come in and look at something, you'll get 3 opinions, none of which are from a structural engineer whose seal and signature is going to be worth it when your house passes inspection.
After you know what's going on, then you want to talk to all of your friends, family, anyone in the neighborhood who's had foundation repair work just to get some recommendations. The world works on recommendations, and it just gives you a little more warm and fuzzy when you're talking to the different contractors, because you want to get more than one bid. Ideally, we went with 3. We were able to eliminate 1 right away, and then the other 2 we could talk to and see what the differences are. They both agreed on the major problems, but they both had minor differences that we were able to discuss back and forth to really get a feel. You also want to make sure you're on the same page. Now, part of that is making sure you agree on the scope of work, and the other is things like who needs to call the utility companies to mark what are the utilities that are buried underground, because while you might not expect to have any digging happen if you don't think you have any of the exterior foundation work that needs repairs, but maybe it does. In our case, we did, so we were really glad that we had already called the utility companies out to have those marked. We knew we were safe to dig in the corner that needed some repairs. We also wrote a questionnaire for ourselves so that we could ask all of the contractors the same questions to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples. So here's a list, but don't feel the need to write it down. Go ahead and click on the blog post in the description below because I have it all listed out. You can just copy and paste it for yourself. So here we go. The first one was, what is the warranty or if there's any stipulations? Next was, how long has the contractor been in business? You want one that's been in the business for a while. You want someone that's got experience. Are they licensed, bonded, and insured? Do they have any referrals or testimonials you can speak to or visit? How long will the job take? And like I said before, we also added in, is it your responsibility or theirs to call the utility companies to get underground utility lines marked?
Since then, we've added 2 more questions to the checklist. Will the company pull necessary city permits? And last, what materials will be used?
So there we could look at all of those, compare them, and come up with a more informed decision. The next thing I want to add to this is make sure that you have a little extra in your budget, because I would expect it to cost more and for it to take a little bit longer than they say. In both of our foundation repairs that we did, it took longer and it cost more. There was more damage that you can't always see. So just go ahead and be prepared ahead of time. I want to add, definitely go with your gut at the end. Even if there's a couple $100 difference, $1,000 difference, this is someone that you're trusting with your house. This is where you live. You want to make sure that you're able to trust whoever it is that's working on your foundation.
A decent number of comments on my past foundation repair videos have reached out to ask, do I personally know of any good foundation repair companies in their area? You're already on the right track, because you know a recommendation is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to get a really good foundation company. You know that they showed up to do the work, how they did the work, you know that the review is legitimate. So reach out to family, friends, neighbors, whoever is in the local area that has had foundation repairs. If you're in East Texas, good news is I have 2 good foundation repair companies. That is Kenneth at Precision Foundation and Nick at Remedy Foundation Repair. They are both great foundation repair contractors that I have hired personally and recommend. Now, if you're in Tennessee, Wisconsin, Mississippi, I believe, and there's at least a couple in California and Florida, no, I don't really have any recommendations there. However, there is another really good way, and that is to reach out to your local builders association. The people who tend to gravitate towards those types of organizations are generally good people. They're in business, they want to stay in business, and these types of organizations provide learning opportunities so they can have even better businesses.
You find out that you have to make a foundation repair. And the first thing, if not the first thing, that you should do is to figure out what caused the problem first. Because if you don't, you're just looking at future foundation repairs. But it's more than just figuring out what the problem is. It's a little more subtle than that. I want to make sure that you don't make this mistake. And a kind viewer reached out, left a wonderful comment that perfectly shows this. Here's the important part. They have an older home that needs foundation work. I had 3 of the top companies quote the work, and all of it averaged $22,000, all of the bids. They all urged me to address the problem reactively instead of preventative. The main issue is needed yard sloping and French drains. I spent $5,000 on dirt work and drainage, and now my crawl space is bone dry. Their solution was to install a sump pump while allowing the water to flow in. Ridiculous. Agreed. You should seriously, okay. In any case, thanks for the compliments. But the main part here, one of the problems is, how do you address the problem? Do you have the correct fix? This was phenomenal because it wasn't just saying, hey, here are the best contractors in the area and let's go with that. But to think twice, step back, try to figure out, does that solution make sense?
As I've shared in a previous video, here are some options that may be even better solutions for your situation.
Do you need gutters? Improve drainage around the house. Is there improper slope leading all water towards the house foundation? Do trees need to be removed? Are sprinkler heads too close to your house and need to be redirected or moved further away? These sprinklers are too close to the house, causing foundation problems. Mortar is permeable, allowing water behind the stone veneer. Continuously wet from sprinklers throughout the day, the cardboard waterproofing behind this veneer will eventually soak into the wood frame of the wall.
He talked about French drains, and French Drain Man reached out last year. Totally love what he's sharing on his channel, explaining how to draw the water away from your house. And not only that, but he's at the top of the game inventing products that are keeping water, drawing water away from the house. You will learn a lot about French drains, especially to educate yourself when contractors are telling you to go a certain way and it just doesn't make sense to you. One of the main problems is our houses are always in motion with what is going on in the environment around. And water, controlling water, preventing it from coming in and keeping your house and the ground around it more stable, that's just an answer for better, like just having less leaks in general. Actually, what you see here is I'm collecting rainwater, harvesting rainwater for our gardens and citrus trees in the back. It also has the added benefit of this is 45 or 50 gallons that isn't just pouring on at a it's a very terrible roof line where about 400 square feet comes down onto this edge right here and just pours down. And you can imagine the load of water that just pools underneath. And here in Arizona, we don't have a lot of gutters, at least not in the low desert of Arizona. It's on the to-do list, but do what you can. I mean, even this, like something as lame as this, just to put a Band-Aid fix on something before you have a more permanent solution. But to identify what the problem is so that you're not creating a bigger problem if you're not able to do your repairs right away. You want to stabilize the foundation that your house is on. Let's not even let the water get into the house. Let's make sure that doesn't happen in the first place. So what was actually even better is the conversation that we continue to have. My house, even after all the snow last week and the melt, we are still dry under our house. But the signs inside the house are worsening more quickly. And I think it's due to the crawl space drying out. And I'm pretty confident I have additional repairs. This is subtle to not just address the problem, but leave some time in between solving the problem and then doing the secondary repairs. Figure out where your house is going to land. Let all of the movement in the soil even out, settle down, because you really don't want to go all gung-ho fixing things, all the cracks, whatever the secondary problems are, and find out later, oh, well, the house wasn't done settling, and then have to do more repairs. We just want this to be one and done. So perhaps leave it a few months, even a year perhaps. I don't really have an exact time.
I may not know, but French Drainman does. 2 years. He's been in the business for over 3 decades. When I reached out to Robert to make sure that he was okay with me including his videos that I included in this video, he responded that most of the settling around a home takes place within the first 2 years. Which makes sense because you go through the freeze-thaw cycle a couple times, or the wet and dry cycle. So once you're controlling the water around your home, directing it away from the house, then the level of activity will settle down.
When it comes to houses, it's important to go under your house if you have a pier and beam foundation.
Yikes.
First reason why, this is the first reason on my list, is my first house was a pier and beam foundation, and I did not go under it prior to owning it. I trusted the inspector, and he said that it was the best foundation that he had seen in however many years. He was an older gentleman, so I'm going to go with he's probably inspected quite a few homes, and I trusted him. Upon finding out later when we were ripping out the subfloor so I could put tile in the kitchen, that the joists were absolutely, they're pretty much gone. It was really disappointing, and it was something that could have been entirely avoided had I gone under. So if you're a girl, if you're a guy, and you're interested in buying a pier and beam house, look. Definitely check it out for yourself. Do not rely on someone else's opinion, eyes, because who's to say they didn't come in to the space where it's pretty clear. If you saw a couple videos ago, I went into the space that was easy, so it was pretty dry, and in order to get to the kitchen where it was really bad, you have to crawl all the way across. It would have been easy to see. And some of these spots that you're looking at, it's not rocket science. I really want to bring that home to you. It's not rocket science. You can see the problems clearly for yourself. If something's deteriorating, let's take a little tour right here. A little side tour here. I wasn't planning on doing.
if something is deteriorating, check that out. You can tell for yourself. Like that's not rocket science. You can see that. So what I really want to bring home is this is your home. This is your money that you've worked hard for. And I also want to say it's not just about buying the right home. It's also when it's time to repair, because all homes are going to move. The ground expands and contracts. It's going to move. And when it does, you might have to repair your foundation. That's fine. Even if you're on a slab, that might happen. Pier and beam, especially so, just because it floats quite a bit different, as you can see by these piers behind me here. But when it comes to doing the repairs, you also want to go under before, like I said in that video, before you even pick up the phone. You don't want somebody to pull the wool over your eyes to say, hey, you need all of this work done. No, I don't. I just needed the space under the kitchen, under the bathroom, that one corner of the house that's on the upper side of the hill where the water goes down towards it. I'm just really encouraging you to pick up that stick, which I've left here, over here. Get out the cobwebs from in front of you. You've got a shower on the inside you can clean up. You've got a washer and dryer. You'll be fine. It cleans off. Fun story. When we were doing the repairs for this house, I was 5 months pregnant. And having learned my lesson when it came to checking out what's going on under the foundations during the repairs, and one of the foundation guys was like, what are you doing? You're pregnant. I'm like, well, you know, I want to go see for myself. And it's like, you're only the second girl that's ever gone under a house. So be that girl. Go out there and get it done. And see for yourself. Or be that guy. I'm totally there with you too. This is not a lot of fun. I do not like spending time under this, but I felt this was super important information to share with you, so you learn from my mistakes and you have a better home to show for it.
Moving forward, I will occasionally put out another video from time to time, and I will put it in this playlist right here. I wish you the best of luck on your project.